My question for you on the immigration point, though, is how do your views change on that legal immigration paradigm if we actually did a better job of selecting for who actually gets to come to this country?
It
Selecting for
would be
people who actually
something
love this country?
yes, it would be something totally different. I want to go back to Teddy Kennedy's 1965 Act rules, where, as I've said many times, so sorry if I'm boring you at this point, pre-1965 immigrants were so much better than we are. We ought to be bringing in people. I mean, immigration is just a government policy like any other taxes or, import, export fees. It's just a government policy. It ought to be used to help the people already here. So I keep saying we ought to be getting our average up. Let's bring in people better than us. And that's what it actually kicked in around 1970. So pre-1970 immigrants were better educated, made more money, bought more houses. Oh my gosh, did that change after Teddy Kennedy's Immigration Act? Now 90% of, as Trump says, legal immigrants are from the third world. There isn't that much difference between legal and illegal in terms of the cultures they're coming from. And why is that? Because at the same time, the 1965 immigration passed, we also got LBJ's Great Society programs. So if you came here basically at any point from, 1632 up until 1965, if you couldn't make it, you went home or you starved to death. There was no warm bath of welfare benefits that you would be sunk into. And most people don't know this, but about 30% of the prized Ellis Island immigrants went home. 60% of Southern Italian immigrants went home. So that's how, without having any laws or having to pick this one or that one, we just naturally got the best the world had to offer. We were skimming the cream. And I think when most people like Trump talk about legal immigrants versus illegal immigrants, that's what they're thinking of. They're thinking of Ellis Island, but really what they mean is pre-1970, post-1970. Now, if we're not going to get rid of the welfare state, that is clearly the best way to do it. To just, yeah, sure, anybody can come. If you can't make it, go home or you're going to die. And no one will help you. But we can't get rid of the welfare state. We could, repeal the laws of gravity first. So now we really do have to be really picky and choosy and look these immigrants over. Though I will say, I offered, when I was speaking quite regularly to Donald Trump during the 2016 campaign, I told him he could get rid of the entire immigration apparatus and just send me pictures of every immigration applicant, and I could decide them all with a picture before breakfast.
How would you do that?
Mine would be better. Oh, I'm a looksist, Vivek.
What's that?
I'm a looksist. So I want young, healthy, good looking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there might be a few who would slip through, but oh my gosh, it would be better than what we have now.
Yeah, and your point is you want to build a championship team. I'm not sure you could have better proxies. I believe we could talk about other proxies, but your point is we want to select for an immigration policy that best advances the interests of the citizens who are already here.
Yes.
Now, suppose we had such a policy, roll that forward. And by the way, I don't have the same fatalism that you do with respect to that great society, the greatest misnomer in American political history of a set of policies. I think it is incumbent on us. Whatever we do with our immigration policies, irrespective of that, we're doomed unless we ultimately do the hard thing and take aim at Lyndon Johnson's destructive great society that we're paying for 60 years later. I'm not fatalistic about that. I think that the future existence of our country depends not just on tinkering around the edges of immigration policy, but doing the right thing at the heart of what's going on right here at home. But suppose
maybe I will vote for you.
I mean, it's just incumbent. It's a future requirement for the continued existence of our country. But my view is on the other side of that. And the reason I'm actually very empathetic to your point of view on probably this narrow sliver. I mean, rather than picking the 99% of things we already agree with, which would be rather boring, I thought it'd be interesting to focus on the sliver. But the reason I'm very sympathetic to the sliver and where we disagree is that I understand it's the product of failed policies, of an immigration policy, even legal immigration policies that reward. I mean, what do we say we reward? We reward chance. We reward people who are willing to break the law. We reward people who are willing to lie, right? Mm-hmm. If you lie on an immigration application or an asylum application, that's the quality that's rewarded. So if those are the qualities rewarded in an immigration policy, stochastic randomness, willingness to lie, and then through illegal immigration, willingness to break the law, you get what you actually incentivize. So that's not surprising that that's what we have today. But I worry that the reaction, maybe the understandable reaction, but the reaction nonetheless of folks like yourself, bluntly, is to embrace an artificial vision of American identity that serves as an antidote to the thing that we actually are trying to solve in this country, but actually then may miss the real target, which is to no, this is who we are. And it's manifest itself through failed immigration policies and failed domestic policies in this country that we would rather confront by actually reviving the Constitution that our founding fathers set into motion and the beliefs of our founding fathers. And Thomas Jefferson said, what is it? The tree of liberty is fed every generation by the blood of tyrants. That we suggest that our founding fathers weren't, you either believe they were crazy or you believe they were right. And I believe they were right, not crazy. That's what we should focus on rather than this, I think, understandable but somewhat regrettable reinvention of an American identity that I just don't think Thomas Jefferson particularly shared at the time he wrote the Declaration of Independence. Subscribe to the Truth Podcast today on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.